Between 2020 and 2025, approximately 2.38 million people became permanent residents of Canada. That is not just a statistic. That is 2.38 million people who now need a place to live, a job to work, a school for their children, and a doctor when they get sick. Where those people come from has shifted more dramatically in these 6 years than most Canadians realize, and it directly affects housing demand, job competition, and the pressure on services in every major city across the country. All of this data comes from Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. We are looking specifically at permanent residents, meaning people granted the legal right to stay long-term. Not temporary workers, not international students, the people who are staying. The story starts with a collapse and a record-breaking rebound. In 2020, COVID-19 cut Canada's intake nearly in half. Only about 184,000 permanent residents were admitted, down 46% from 341,175 in 2019. Then in 2021, Canada overcorrected. The government opened a new pathway for up to 90,000 essential workers and international graduates already in the country, and by year's end, roughly 405,000 people had been admitted. That shattered a record that had stood since 1913. For cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal, it meant a sudden spike in demand for housing and services almost overnight.
From there, the numbers kept climbing. About 437,000 in 2022, roughly 471,000 in 2023, and nearly 483,000 in 2024. Then, in 2025, the government deliberately pulled back. Only about 393,500 permanent residents were admitted, an 18.6% drop from the year before, as part of a plan to ease pressure on housing and infrastructure. Now, who is coming? One country has dominated this entire period, and it is India. In 2015, India provided about 39,000 permanent residents. By 2024, that number was 139,780, roughly a 3.5 times increase in a decade. In 2024, India alone accounted for about 1 in every 4 new permanent residents admitted to Canada. In just the first 6 months of 2025, India contributed over 59,000 people, more than 4 times the next highest country. That level of concentration shapes which settlement services are in highest demand, which credential recognition systems face the most pressure, and which communities absorb the most growth. China and the Philippines have remained consistently in the top 3 throughout this period. But here's an important shift. As recently as 2015, the Philippines was actually the #1 source country, ahead of India, with over 50,000 permanent residents. By 2024, India was leading, with nearly 4 times the Philippines' numbers. Filipino immigrants have historically filled critical roles in healthcare and caregiving. A relative decline in those numbers puts pressure on sectors that were already short-staffed.
The most dramatic change, however, is the rise of Africa. In 2015, not a single African country appeared in Canada's top 10 source list. By 2024, 3 did. Cameroon surged into the top 5 with 21,200 permanent residents, an 81% increase in a single year. Nigeria came in at 6th with over 20,000, and Eritrea entered the top 10 for the first time with 10,700, driven largely by refugee resettlement. Cameroon's growth is directly tied to Canada's Francophone immigration strategy, which aims to increase French-speaking permanent residents outside Quebec. In 2024, French speakers received 54% of invitations to apply in category-specific express entry draws. That one policy decision is reshaping the entire source country map. On the other hand, traditional Western source countries are fading. The United States was 7th on the list in 2015 and barely held on at 8th in 2024. The United Kingdom is no longer in the top 10 at all. It is not that fewer Americans are coming, it's that countries like Cameroon and Nigeria have grown so fast they have pushed Western nations down the rankings. Afghanistan also became a significant source during this period, jumping to third place in 2022 with nearly 24,000 permanent residents following humanitarian resettlement commitments. And over 82,000 Ukrainians arrived in Canada in 2022 alone, though most came as temporary residents under emergency measures. By 2025, Ukraine had entered the top 10 permanent resident list, as many of those arrivals began converting to permanent status. Several policy changes are now shaping what comes next. Provincial nominee program targets were cut by roughly 50% for 2025. Caps on international student permits led to a 60% drop in new student arrivals, which matters because many permanent residents, especially from India, transition through the student pathway. In March of 2025, the government also removed bonus points for job offers in the express entry system. And the broader direction is clear. Permanent resident targets are set to decline from 395,000 in 2025 to 380,000 in 2026 and 365,000 by 2027. Within Canada, the regional picture is also shifting. In 2021, about 49% of permanent residents chose Ontario. By 2022, that dropped to 42.2%, with Quebec and Alberta absorbing more. For people in mid-sized cities now receiving more newcomers than before, that means faster growing demand for housing, schools, and healthcare that may not yet be built to match. Here's the bottom line. Over 6 years, India has sent more than 1 in 4 of all new permanent residents. The Philippines and China have remained in the top 3, but Africa has gone from invisible to unmissable on this list. Humanitarian crises brought surges from Afghanistan and Ukraine, and after years of record-high admissions, Canada is now deliberately slowing down. The source countries have changed, the volumes have swung dramatically, and for the 41.5 million people already living here, all of it connects to how competitive the job market feels, how fast rents rise, and how long the wait is at a walk-in clinic. That is the data, and that is what it means.